Hi there. Good to see you again. Uh, so, I'm not doing great on this whole video schedule thing, but, you know, life happens. Lots of things happening, lots of stuff that I've had to do, and it just piles up, and then something has to take a back seat, and this is it. Um, so, I haven't made a new video when I said I would, or when I wanted to, but here I am now. Um, so, some things that have been going on, some tours, some tastings, some teaching, some taking classes myself, some very interesting times. I got to uh, my two of my best friends. We get together. We try for every month. It doesn't always work. So for a few months, we haven't been able to get together at all. Um, but over this past weekend, I got to hang out with them and one of our other old friends who has never really made it to these little friend gatherings that we have. It's only the three of us most of the time, but this time it was four, and it was really cool because I did the math. The last time we were all in the same room together before this past weekend was just before Christmas in 2000. Um, so it's been a long time. We got to hang out. We got to have fun. We did what we usually do. Went, had a drink, or a couple of beers, whatever, and a lunch, and then we talked about what was going on in our lives, and we talked about what was going on with our families and our kids and so on, which is generally what we do. And then like 50% of it was just us making fun of each other, which is also what we normally do. So that was a good time. And then also during the last couple weeks, my oldest daughter asked me a question, and it was about what me and those guys do when we get together. Because, for her, when she gets together with her friends, there's specific discussion or activity or whatever you want to say, and she, I guess, was wondering if we had the same one. And I guess one of the questions was like, do I care about them? The answer is yes. I would probably say that I'm closer to these guys than just about anybody. Um, I think of them as my brothers more than I think of them as my friends. So I kind of had a good answer for that. Yeah, I care about them. And even though 50% of our interactions are making fun of each other, it's all in good fun, and we all know that. So we're not hurting each other's feelings too much. It's all normal. And I'm sure a lot of people watching this have that same experience with somebody, that a friend or whatever. But she also uh, wanted to know like what we do, right? And so we talk about all that stuff. And sometimes, while we're having those beers and telling those stories, um, we talk about people, and I don't mean like we gossip about on people. Like that's not what we do. But we talk about things like a lot of people do. High school, people we went to school with, people that we've worked with, people that all of us know, and sometimes people that nobody else knows but one of us. So we talk about all that kind of stuff, and I thought some of those conversations are pretty good, and maybe it'd be a good idea if I did some of that on here with you guys. Have a glass of whiskey and talk about somebody I know. Nobody that I am gonna like hurt their feelings. I don't think. I'm gonna try not to, but um, just people that I've been around, and sometimes I might use names, and sometimes I might not. Uh, but I thought that'd be a pretty good idea. And then sometimes we tell stories. Um, Stories about things that have happened to us, or stories about things that we used to do, memories. So I thought a little whiskey and story time would be a good idea. And I started thinking about who am I going to talk about first. And I brought this up to my wife, and she said, "Well, do you want to? Are you going to talk about your friend Joe?" And I said, "Joe Hill, my friend Joe Hill, and not Joe Hill, who's like Stephen King's son. I don't know him, but I have a friend Joe, and Joe. I said nobody wants to hear about Joe because Joe's not very friendly and he's kind of a jerk. Um, Joe tends to be abrasive and rude and mean and inappropriate, and nobody wants to talk about Joe. No one wants to hear about Joe, that's for sure. And by the way, if he was sitting right here, he would agree with everything I just said. Um, so not Joe, but I do have a number one subject that I want to talk about. And I want to talk about it because sometimes it's just nice to get these things off your chest and have a little bit of a sounding board that maybe I don't get a response from, but at least I got the stuff out, right? So while I drink a little bit of Knob Creek 9-year, which is almost gone, I'm going to talk about this guy. Um, and I'll get to his name in a little bit, but the first thing I want to mention is that, this guy is younger than me. He's quite a bit younger than me. He's shorter than me, which, people who know me personally would say, wow, really? And yes, I am actually short. But this guy, he's one of those people that is aggravating on like so many levels that it's difficult to put him into a category, right? He has a tendency to talk too much, to invite himself places too much, to assume how the people around him feel about him too much, and not in a negative way. I know some people think, oh, the people I'm around don't like me. That's not his problem at all. I'll come back to that. So he's this weird little guy who hangs out with my daughter, and like he just, I don't think there's a nerve he hasn't jumped on and squeezed. I just can't stand him. And he can't take the hint. Right? And a lot of people can't take a hint. I can't always take a hint, but he can't take a hint at all. He, you can be super nice to him and try to, gently guide him away from you. Like, oh yeah, that's great, I'm going over here. You should probably stay here though, whatever gentle way you can think of. That doesn't work. Doesn't work at all. You can be mean. I've flat out told him, I don't like you and I don't want you near me. And he responds with a very interesting response, which is, no, you love having me And he's not even being ironic or jokey. He seriously thinks that I just told him I didn't want him around for fun, just to hear myself talk about him. No, you love having me around, and I don't. I got to a point several months ago where I just didn't acknowledge him at all. I stopped talking to him. I stopped referring to him. I didn't acknowledge when he was speaking. I ignored him completely. And he still wouldn't leave me alone. And I'd admire the persistence, but no. That's not something I'm going to do. I don't admire that persistence. I don't like him. So he won't take the hint. He won't take the direct statement. So I'm kind of stuck dealing with him, and I can't get rid of him. He's friends with my daughter, and you can't unalive him, or however you're putting it these days. You can't get rid of him that way, because that's not legal. So I'm stuck with him being around, which is kind of sad for me, and I guess happy for him, because he seems to think that we're best friends. He says I'm his best friend. I can promise you he is not my best friend, but I guess I'm stuck with him. Oh well. So he's just kind of a snot. That's a good way to put it. I can't get rid of him. He thinks that he knows just about everything. Somehow he thinks he's famous, although he's not. Somehow he thinks he's famous, but he's not. He's never been on TV, radio, magazines. He's never even been on social media, as far as I know, in any significant way. So I don't know where the thought that he's famous comes from. I do know he likes he likes some songs, and like Elton John. He likes, what is it? I'm Still Standing. He likes that song. Which, I like Elton John. That's not my favorite song by Elton John, though. It's okay. It's not my favorite. But somehow he thinks he's like super famous. But I, promise that nobody in the neighborhood even knows who he is. So, he's a weirdo. A real weirdo. He also, I didn't say it to him, but somehow he found out I might do a video and talk about him. And he didn't believe that I would actually bring him up. I don't know why, because he is full of himself, and he certainly thinks that he deserves to be talked about. So I don't know why he thought I wouldn't bring him up, but here I am talking about him right now. And hopefully I don't have to talk about him again. I've pretty much told you everything that I care to tell you about him. So, pray for me, or whatever you do, to wish me luck in having to live with this person around. Kind of stuck with it. So, anyway, that's kind of story time. Not really story, more, people time, whatever. I might have some stories later. Not later tonight, but, later when I get around to making another video. I will do my best to not let that be, a real long time. Hopefully not too long. So, that being all said, and hopefully giving you a glimpse at somebody who you should be real happy you don't have to deal with. I am going to go because it is, like always, late at night. I'm going to go finish my glass of whiskey and I'm going to get ready to go to sleep because I have another full day tomorrow. So I hope you're having a good one. I hope you had a great Easter. And, if you celebrate Easter, if you don't, whatever you do, I hope you had a good one. So I hope to see you next time, and I hope it doesn't take me that long to do it. So, cheers.